Alright, hello everyone, this is Venom. We're here with We Have Landed Entertainment, and today I'm giving my impressions and my review of Starfield. The game has been out since September 1st. Technically, officially, it released on the 6th, but we've been playing it since the 1st. A lot of players got it on the 1st with the early release. We've been playing it for over 3 weeks now, and I've got my impressions of the game. I've got my pros, I've got my cons. Overall, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. But I'm going to go over the pros and the cons. I'm going to go over some controversies that the game has supposedly had. I say supposedly because a controversy, in my opinion, is a non-issue. It's a non-controversy, but we'll get into that here in just a little bit. So, again, we're going over our Starfield review. Like I said, I'm giving the game an 8 out of 10 overall. I am definitely enjoying it. If you're playing the game, you're going to fall into one of two real camps, two major camps. Either you're going to be a vet who is used to playing Bethesda games already, you're kind of used to how the flow of their RPGs go, or you might be a new player who's never played Bethesda RPG, or just a more casual enjoyer. I think most of the people who are playing the game are probably vets of Bethesda RPGs. I think there's a lot of people that have played Skyrim and the Fallout series, and overall, the games tend to follow the same pattern. You've got your main story quest, you've got your major faction quest, and then you've got a bunch of smaller sub-quests you can do. Some are in the range of like 20 minutes, maybe an hour long. Some can range up to like 10 hours, depending on what the sub-quest is and what it is you're trying to do. So there's a lot of stuff in there you can do, whether you're a vet or whether you're a new player. Now, for new players, I expect that there's going to be a lot more to discover versus if you play the games for a while, because like I said, you already kind of know what to expect in the games. You know there's going to be major faction quests. Is probably one of the things you're doing before the main storyline. You're probably knocking out a lot of the smaller sub-quests first, or saving them till later, till after you've done the faction quest, kind of like I did. I did all the faction quests first, then I started doing the sub-quests, and then finally the main story. If you're newer, you're probably just kind of doing things as they come at you. But also, if you're a vet, you're probably, especially if you're a PC player, you're probably also kind of getting used to what the game is going to feel like with mods as well. When you play Bethesda games with mods, and this is, if you don't know, something that Bethesda RPGs are really known for, is a huge modding scene. If you're not used to playing them in mods, it pretty much changes the game completely. Bethesda games are really great for modding. You can usually get a lot of cool mods, everything from basic weapons to entire new storylines. It's got one of the biggest modding communities in the world. I think Minecraft might be the only real thing I see rivaling it, but past that, Bethesda RPGs, specifically the Elder Scrolls RPGs and the Fallout RPGs, are huge for modders. And Starfield seems to be going down the same path. There is already a lot of mods out. I've already done a few videos about it. But like I said, you're gonna fall into one of those two camps here. Overall, the story it's been okay. It's nothing groundbreaking. I know there was a lot of hype for the story when Pete Hines was doing interviews. The story's alright, don't get me wrong, it's doable. It's cool, it's got some twists in there, nothing that I really didn't see come. Well, there's one particular spot I didn't see coming, but afterwards it's kind of like, okay, that made sense. So not really necessarily a twist or a really huge story plot, but it's doable. It's not a bad plot by any means. It is still fairly generic, but it does serve its purpose. The big thing is the gimmick for the story, which at this point is not a spoiler. It's once you beat the main game, you can go to a new universe, which is essentially just starting the game over. You get to do a new game plus, carrying over your character's level, and you get a couple items for doing so, and you carry over your powers. So those are the only things that come over. So kind of hit and miss there. I know some people have liked that mechanic, losing everything but keeping your levels and going to a new universe. I know myself, I didn't like it. I don't like putting in a lot of work for like chips and credits and stuff, but then losing all of that. I know a lot of people have not liked that. I get it's supposed to be some big retrospective, do you stay in this universe where you built up all this power and these friendships, or do you start a new universe with potentially more power and the promise of more power and start over again in this new random universe? I get the think piece they're trying to go for. That's great. I don't necessarily like think pieces when I put hundreds of hours into my game and have to make a decision like that. I, again, happen to know what it was before I got there, so I did the main story and did a new universe before that mechanic, so I didn't really lose anything. But I have seen some people that have liked that. I've seen some that have not. I will admit I was wrong, at least a bit. There seemed to be a lot more people that enjoy that mechanic than I thought. A lot of people were enjoying the surprise of having to, hey, surprise, you can go to a new universe, or You can stay in this old universe where you have everything. There seem to be a lot more people that enjoy it than I thought. It seems to be with the newer players I've noticed, though. A lot of the vets don't necessarily like that, or they like it for when they're going to do another playthrough later on and just don't want to completely start over a character. They're probably losing it then because they were going to start over a whole nother character anyway. But most of the vets I've seen that have grinded out everything don't necessarily like losing at least all the credits and ships and outposts. The ships and credits are the big one there, especially the items, especially when you're hunting legendary items and stuff. But the main story gimmick is, like I said, it's doable. Like I said, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's fine. Some of the pros for the game, like I said, story is fine. The new game is okay. Like I said, that's a hit or miss depending on whether you liked it or not. There's no real in between for it. Customization for ships has been a pretty good one. People are liking it a lot. Just like we thought, as soon as the game came out and people got into shipbuilding, they were already seeing things like X-Wings and TIE Fighters and Millennium Falcons. I've seen ships from other franchises that I'm not necessarily big fans of. All sorts of ships. I've seen Halo Pelicans, so people were enjoying the shipbuilding a lot. The base building, yes and no. I have seen some people make some pretty cool bases. Personally, I like it, but I think there's still a lot missing from it. But I'll go ahead and put that down for pro right now. A lot of weapons in the game. Tons of weapons. Tons of customization for those weapons. Tons for the armor. Although the armor's not quite as fleshed out as I'd like it to be. It's kind of weird how it works in game. You've kind of got your undersuit and you've got your space armor. But you've always got your space armor technically on because that's your main armor. So even if you have it kind of off or set to not show when you're kind of like in an area you don't need to have a suit on, you're still technically wearing it. It just kind of pops in. It's kind of jarring. Same with the jetpack. The jetpack won't be showing if you're in third-person mode. It won't be showing when you're just walking around on like a planet's surface or someplace with an atmosphere you can breathe on. But then when you jump, it just suddenly pops in like that. It's kind of jarring. I don't necessarily like that. I get what they were trying to do, but it doesn't work too well. And that kind of brings me to cons. The outposts, the logistics of outposts are not great. And I'm kind of nitpicking on some of this stuff, but these are some major systems that the game was touted as having, so that's why I'm nitpicking some of these things. The logistics are not great. Stuff like sorting and that kind of thing, they're just basically not there. You can't upgrade weapons. By that, I don't mean you can't customize them. I mean you can't upgrade them. And I say other Bethesda games, I'm comparing this mainly to Fallout series, especially Fallout 4 and 76. Mainly because out of all the Bethesda RPGs, that franchise is what this most closely resembles as far as like crafting and upgrading and things, and just the feel of the world in general. But in Fallout, you could upgrade your weapons, and in Starfield, you can't. You've got your basic weapons. You got 4 tiers of weapons. You got basic, refined, advanced, and then superior. And as you go up levels and kill stronger and stronger enemies, they would drop stronger versions of these weapons. Now, in the Fallout games, you could actually just go ahead and upgrade the weapons to the max that you wanted to, but you can't do that here. You kind of have to, no matter how good of a weapon you have, if it's not superior, the top tier, then it's never going to be as good as a superior weapon. So that part kind of bums me out. And something else too, as far as guns go, the knockout gun, the EM weapons, I feel like they could have done a lot more with those. There's a weapon type that's called EM, electromagnetic, and all it does is, instead of killing or really doing damage to an enemy, it's basically a stun gun. You can knock them out. I don't feel like they did a lot with that. I feel like they could have done a whole lot more, and I'm kind of tiptoeing around it because I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a faction storyline where it would really make sense to be able to knock people out and arrest them versus killing them, and I feel like they really kind of let us down on that when you can't really do that. In fact, I went in on it with some EM weapons ready to go, ready to arrest people, thinking I was going to be a sheriff, and unfortunately it's not the way it played out. So that's just me. I was hoping for something that didn't come in. Again, it's just nitpicking, but there's not a whole lot there to nitpick that we didn't already expect. And that brings me to the overarching thing, is that this is a Bethesda RPG. If you played them before, this is exactly what you expect. I will say the game has had a lot less bugs than I'm used to. There was one when I first started, when I was in Jemison, and it wasn't like a transgender character or anything like that, nothing crazy like that, but quite clearly a character model did not match the voice, and you can tell because they said their name too and didn't match up what it said. The voice didn't match up. It was a male character with a female voice, I think, and everything about it was supposed to be one character, but the model was mixed up somehow, so that was kind of weird. A lot of jetpack stuff for enemies is a little weird. You kind of see them rubber band every once in a while when they're using the jetpacks. Other than that, it actually hasn't been that bad. I've seen some of the I've seen some screenshots and some videos that people posted of some crazy bugs in the game. I haven't run across anything too insane right now, so it's actually been fairly bug-free as far as the Bethesda game has gone. But yeah, like I said, past that is playing exactly like a Bethesda game. Like I said, it's got the main story, you've got the faction quest, you've got your side quests. So if you played Skyrim or Oblivion, or if you played any of the Fallout games, you know exactly what to expect, just in space. Again, a good thing and a bad thing, depending on if you like those games or not. A couple things I have seen people kind of criticize. One was the lack of exploration on planets, and by that I mean planets are mostly empty. I say this coming from a place, or I say this coming as being someone who's played No Man's Sky quite a bit. Actually, I've got thousands of hours in it. Yeah, you're not going to be able to fill 1,000 planets up with just tons of stuff. No Man's Sky has trillions of planets, and their planets are about as empty as the planets are in Elder Scrolls, and it would make sense too. Elder Scrolls. And see, that's one thing too. You can't help but feel like you're playing another another Bethesda RPG when you're playing Starfield. Again, could be good, could be bad, depends on if you like them or not. But yeah, these planets are fairly empty. They're randomly generated whenever you land somewhere. They randomly generate what's going to be there. Again, something you find in No Man's Sky. Not necessarily a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing, but there's not a whole lot of... I guess some people are just upset that there's not a whole lot of handcrafted stuff you see there, which is also weird, because even the randomly generated stuff is technically handcrafted. Now, I understand that when you land someplace random, you probably want a whole new storyline to pop up, or a whole new adventure, and unfortunately that's just not going to be the case with something this size. Now, there is a ton of quests in the game. I mean, I've got a whole backlog I hadn't even gotten to. I'd finished up the main story and the side, or the faction quest, and I started doing some of the side missions that pop up, and I started doing them thinking they're going to be real simple quests, and they turn into these 2, 3, 4 hour long quests you're doing. So it's really cool. I'm knocking my way through those, but yeah, you're not going to have all those planets filled up with stuff to do. Now, there is stuff to do if you want to just, grind experience or grind legendaries, whatever you want to do, but there's not going to be a handheld crafted story every single random place you land. So if you went to and expecting that, it's kind of on you. Maybe you had a bad understanding of how something like that would work, but if you're going into it thinking that every inch of every planet is going to be covered with just these awesome quests to do, that's not how it works. Now, something I have not liked about it is that there's one major faction in the game that they have not done anything with, but they keep talking about it all the time. That's the Venoms. I assume this is going to be a DLC at some point. I've looked it up. No one's found any way to join their faction or really do anything with them. There's really kind of one time they pop up that you interact with someone with them outside of a follower that I'm not going to spoil. But there's no real way to do anything with that faction, which is kind of disappointing. Typically with a major faction, and these guys are touted as being like one of the major superpowers, you'd be able to join them, whether they be good or evil, and do stuff with them. Unfortunately, you cannot do that with these guys, which makes me think this is going to be a DLC. I don't like the fact that that would be a DLC. I feel like it would be something in the base game, but it is what it is. Some other things about the universe that I don't necessarily like. Two of the main factions, the UC and the FC, their conflict seems very stupid. To be honest, half the time I can't tell which one is which. It feels like it was more of a forced conflict. It was basically conflict, and again, this is a bit more nitpicky spoiler stuff about the story, but overall it was basically the UC and the FC. The FC basically wanted to break off and do its own things. There was a dispute about them wanting to settle on a planet, and there was this huge, giant, bloody war about it. It feels like it was something very forced just to make these two big superpowers feel like they had some kind of conflict. Now, overall, their ideals are not really that much different from each other. That's why it kind of feels forced, especially since you see other groups in the game that go out and do exactly what the FC did, and there's no repercussions for it. Again, I'm not going to spoil much for it, but it feels almost like clickbait drama for the faction. So I didn't like that at all. It feels like there shouldn't be any conflict there at all, but that's just me. The only other thing I've got to say is really not really in game. It's more of the drama that surrounded Starfield upon its release. Now, I'm not going to talk about the specifics of the drama because I don't want to give it the time of day, really. I don't want to give it any more attention than it's already had, or that I have to say for this review. I will say this: whatever drama has popped up for the game has been manufactured as far as I can tell. I've gone in and I've seen the stuff that the people are kind of bitching about, who are bitching about it, I had not heard anything or heard anybody complain about this either before the game came out or when it did came out, except for these people, and they just happen to be in the right spot to make big waves about it, and nobody fucking cares about it. I understand why they're doing it. It's a shitty reason, but again, Starfield is a huge game. It is the game right now, whether you like it or not. It's on everybody's mind. Everyone's playing it, and clickbait or drama is going to get you clicks and views about it. I understand why they did it from that perspective, but as far as a gamer, I don't like seeing bullshit like this and being talked about. I mean, and I'm not saying I'd take one side or another in this. I'm saying this was never a drama. This was never an issue people really had. Like, yeah, probably one or two people might have not liked it. Overall, people did not care about this. This was a non-issue. And I cannot stress that enough. This was a non-issue. The only reason I see anybody talking about this is because major publications are talking about it, and they're the only ones I saw talking about this. I wasn't on Reddit seeing people complaining about this. I wasn't on YouTube looking at smaller creators talking about this. This was a couple of big-name creators and a couple of big-name publications talking about the drama, and they were the first ones and really the only ones I saw talking about it. Everyone else I see talking about this are talking about those people talking about the drama. So, yeah, I don't like that for the game. Unfortunately, it's going to happen with most games that come out, especially bigger ones or ones that are polarizing. Bethesda games are typically polarizing. One, because the games are known for having bugs, so that by itself gives them a lot of negative press when games come out. Again, you can argue on either side of that, whether it's justifiable because the games are so big, or whether it's not acceptable because they have done this. They've made games for so long. I mean, Bethesda RPGs are known for bugs. You would think that they would fix it at some point. When a game like Baldur's Gate comes out and they don't have those bugs, it really kind of makes you question, like, is this really something acceptable? The engine is another issue which typically comes in under discussion because the engine is what allows a lot of these bugs. In fact, the engine has so many bugs and the bugs are so well known, typically from game to game, even across franchises, you see one bug, like for example, there were bugs in Fallout 4 that were still present in Fallout 76, which is a multiplayer game using the same engine. The same bugs were carrying over, so that kind of gives you an idea of just how bad this engine is as far as the bugs go. But again, that's just something that's going to come along with this game because Bethesda's engine is so well known, and because Bethesda is so well known for their RPGs. I mean, they make huge games, so no matter what, if they release something, there's going to be some controversy, whether it is justified or not. Like I said, for this one, I don't like what had come out about it. It was a non-issue as far as I was concerned, and I know for a lot of other people, they were like, this is not a thing to be worried about. You want to worry about anything, worry about that the game feels kind of empty, which is going to bring me to my next point. Not that the game actually feels empty, but that is going to kind of take me off of that. And that is that there is one problem that I have that I think I am completely biased on that I can't really change. And that is, to me, the game feels empty, but not because there's nothing to do in it. Bethesda RPGs typically come out with DLCs. Now, for the Elder Scrolls, they typically come out with about 2 to 3 major ones. I think 2 have been like the big ones I've seen with some smaller ones in there. For the Fallout series, typically they were half 4 in there. Fallout 4, technically they had more than 4. There was really only 2 big ones and then a bunch of smaller ones that people don't really like. I'd say 2.5. We had Far Harbor, we had Nuka World. Those were the 2 huge ones. And then I think the robotic one, I forgot what it was called, but it was Automatron, whatever it was called. It's been a while since I played it. But Automatron, it was more like a half DLC. You got kind of some stuff unlocked with it, but it was really short. It wasn't really big. So typically you'll see like 4 for like a Fallout. Starfield, of course, is a new IP, so we don't know what we're going to be getting as far as DLCs, although we do know there are some on the way. I don't know if this is going to be a 2 or 4 bangers for DLCs. I'm hoping it's 4. Like I said, I keep comparing this mainly to the Fallout series because it feels like it. I'm hoping we get 4 for this one. And I'm saying all this because the game feels empty because I know there's DLC coming out for it. Going back and playing, say, Skyrim or Fallout, any of them, having played it with the DLC and then try to play it without it, it's going to feel empty. I know preemptively the stuff is going to come out for the game, DLC-wise or just additional content-wise, period, whether it's free or it's additional stuff you got to pay for. I know there's more coming out for it, and so for that reason, I don't know what is missing, but I feel like there is something missing. And unfortunately, when you're playing through the game, you can kind of feel where it feels like there are all holes in the game. Like I said, you can't do anything with the Vyroon. That right there tells me there's going to be DLC for it, or at least feels like it. If they don't, that's a huge miss for them. Again, there's tons of planets. They could add in additional planets. They could just put stuff on the planets that are already there. So they can really do whatever they want to DLC wise. They can add in more ships, they can add in more base stuff, so they can go anywhere with this. So right now Starfield feels like it's in a decent spot, but I know there's more coming. It feels empty being a vet, but for someone else who has never played a Bethesda RPG before or only played them casually, it probably feels overwhelming the amount of stuff there is to do. That is one more criticism I have, and I say I have it only because other people did. For me, it wasn't that big of a deal because, again, I kind of knew where to look already for some of this stuff, but a lot of the systems are not explained very well. Like when you get into like base building or ship building, a lot of these systems are not explained very well, and really once you start getting your powers too in game, you kind of get them and then it's kind of tossed by the wayside. So they don't really go into as much depth as that as I feel they could have. In fact, there's an item you can get to kind of enhance how quickly you recharge your power that's never touched on in the game at all. In fact, you probably wouldn't even know that it was there if you didn't watch like a tips video. But yeah, like I said, I'm enjoying the game right now. That's pretty much all I've got as far as my thoughts on it. Overall, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I don't necessarily disagree with the IGN score, and I know that there was a lot of hate when IGN put out this score. They gave it a 7 out of 10. People gave that a lot of hate, and I'm not going to defend IGN, but I am going to defend the score for this reason. For some reason, people see 7 out of 10, and they think that IGN was calling the game average or terrible, when you forget that a 5 out of 10, this is out of 10, that means that 5 would be average. Anything under 5 would be bad. 7 out of 10 is still good. So the game is not a 10 out of 10 by any means. Anyone coming out saying it's a 10 out of 10, the fact that there are bugs in the game at all automatically disqualified from being a 10 out of 10 right there. A 9 out of 10 is the most you could really give Starfield right now because of the fact there are bugs in it. And again, it's going to come down to opinion whether or not you like what they did in the game or not. A 7 out of 10 is fair. That is still a good game. I think people attacked IGN a bit harshly about that. But I also understand why they attacked them and what IGN ended up doing with that as well. Because on one hand, IGN gave it a 7 out of 10, and people feel like they didn't like it, and some of the reviews that came out that they wrote about were not necessarily pleasant. But then they made a ton of videos on it again. Now again, I don't want to necessarily defend IGN, but I do want to defend the actions, and that is, even if you give a game a 2 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10, if everyone's going to be playing it, then it doesn't make sense to not go ahead and make a bunch of videos about it, even if you absolutely hate the game. If it's from a business standpoint, and clearly a business standpoint, if you're a major publisher like IGN, not like a small YouTuber or something with an audience that they cater to, if you're a bigger publisher, then yes, it makes sense to go ahead and make as many videos about the hot game on the market, regardless of what score you gave it. So even if they had given this thing a 0 out of 10, it would only make sense for them to put out a bunch of videos, regardless of what the score was. Now, I get why that upsets people, but there's nothing you can do about it. And again, 7 out of 10 is not bad. I think that is a fair score. I don't necessarily trust IGN, but if somebody, even a smaller YouTuber, said the game's a 7 out of 10 for me, or even a 6 out of 10, I completely understand that one. Like I said, for me, it is an 8 out of 10 because I loved what they did, but that is just me. So, aside from score controversies and controversies that, again, we will not name because, as far as I'm concerned, they were non-issues, overall, I think the game has been received pretty well. People have liked the game. I like it. The videos I see, people are excited. They're excited to see new ships. People are discovering new stuff every day. People are enjoying doing stuff with the engine and the powers, and they're enjoying doing things with different builds. I do think there is still a lot of wasted potential as far as some of the skills go, which is, again, why this game is not a 9 out of 10 for me. It's still an 8 out of 10. I think they still got a long way to go. But hopefully some of the DLC that comes out for it and some of the additional, and I'm not saying DLC, but additional updates we get are going to help improve this as well. So that's my overall score. I do recommend the game, 8 out of 10. I will continue to make tips and tricks videos, although, like I said, we're kind of slowing down on the tips until until DLC comes out and we actually have some new stuff to give out. I'm seeing a lot of people pumping out tips videos, like 50 tips or 80 tips or 100 tips, and a lot of the stuff is just like how to get to different like menu stuff or how to do some stuff that you really don't need a tip about. If I make stuff, I actually want it to be something you may have not known about it or that I really didn't know about, and that's easy to miss, so that's not explained very well. Mod videos, I'm also going to be ramping those up too as well once we get some more mods coming out. A lot of the mods that are coming out right now, it's just a lot of retexture stuff. It's a lot of preset stuff. It's a lot of people uploading save files with, say, all the powers maxed out on like New Game plus 10 with all the ships and all the armor. I'm seeing a lot of people that are just uploading stuff like UI changes or field of view sliders. So a lot of the mods on there are just a lot of technical stuff. It's just a lot of small tweaks. We haven't really gotten a whole lot of really big major mods out. There have been some that I've enjoyed, and I've made some videos on them. Stuff like increasing vendor credits or being able to modify legendary stats. These are good things, but we still haven't got a lot of the bigger ones. Not because people aren't making them, but because it takes time to make those. We're still waiting for the DLC, and we're still waiting for the creation kit to come out. So once those things come out, then we're going to really see mods take off. Now that is one thing that's going to keep this game alive, is going to be the modding scene. So the quicker we get those DLCs, and more importantly, the quicker we get the creation kit, the quicker we're going to get some of these mods, and the quicker it's going to cause this to explode even more. It's going to cause the mod scene to explode. Now, it's a balancing act with Bethesda. If I was them, I wouldn't release it too soon. I'd probably wait for the game to die down a little bit, and then boom, hey, here's Creation Club. Let's get the numbers back up again. That'd be something I would do. As a consumer of the game, I don't want that to happen, but I mean, I'm also a realist, so that's more likely what's going to happen. They're not going to release it until either all the DLC is out or until the game starts to die down a bit. But like I said, those are my thoughts on the game right now, guys. I highly recommend it if you're into RPGs. If you're not, or you're not into slower paced games, I would probably back up from this one. I say slower paced. This one's not actually that slow, but there is a lot of building and a lot of customizing you're going to have to do if you really want to get the most out of it, and a lot of slower story moments. So that's going to do it for me today, guys. Please leave a like on the video if you like what I did. Let me know what you think about the game down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you like what we're doing. I am bringing you, like I said, tips and tricks videos. Mod videos especially are going to be coming out for this one. I'm going to plan on doing mod videos for as long as I can, or at least the game is relevant and I'm enjoying playing it. And I will probably do a major playthrough for the channel at some point too, once I've kind of really gotten through the game and really kind of seen what all there is for it. But thank you guys for coming by, and I will see you later.